Well, hello. I'm glad you could join us today for the 12th episode of the Salem Painter. I think today we're going to try to do the painting that you always see when the show comes on, the title screen painting. What I was doing when the show started is putting a thin coat of liquid white over the canvas, and we've got that coated and we're ready to go. What it does is just basically makes it slick so the paint will move around and you can mix colors on the canvas. I remember this painting had blue up in the sky, mostly, some clouds, so we're going to get a little bit of blue, not much, just a little bit, and start up at the corners, both corners, because you want it to be darkest around the edges. It's going to get lighter as it goes down towards the horizon. So start at the top. As you can see, I've got a different easel today. I actually broke my other one, and I'm going to see if I can fix that, but for now, we've got a tabletop easel, and we got it taped to the table, and it actually works pretty well. I can hit the canvas a little harder without worrying about pushing it over. So I like this right now. But I do want to get my easel fixed. All right, as you can see, as we're coming down from the top, the paint is getting lighter. And that happens automatically because your paint is going to mix with the liquid white. It's great to be back in here filming again. When you see this show, it'll be on a week after you saw the last one. But because of my busy schedule and the busy schedule here at the station, I haven't been able to film for about a month and a half. So it feels good to be back with you all. My girlfriend actually went to a friend of hers house that lives down the road from us, and there were some of that girl's friends over, and she'd never met them before. You get a little bit more blue paint. When you get more, you always want to start back at the top and blend down. But she had never met them before, and she was talking to him, and she said, "Hey, my boyfriend does paintings," and she started showing them pictures, and the girl said, "Oh, the Salem Painter." And I was very surprised. That I'm glad people are watching. And since I've last painted with you, I've painted some other places besides on the show. I did a thing down at a bar called the Triangle, where there was a DJ playing, and Justin Down, he's known as Get Down. And while he played, I painted. And it was a good experience. It was very weird because it was hard to see all the flashing lights. It was hard to see the colors because of all the flashing lights in the bar. And every time the color of the light would change, the painting would look different. So it was very strange, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of people watched, and I actually sold quite a few paintings that night, which is something that's new to me. Usually I paint a lot of paintings, but they just fill up my house, and I don't know what to do with them all. But I think I'm starting to figure out what to do as far as selling them. Occasionally you'll see me looking over to the side here. We got a clock that tells me how much time I have left. I don't want to spend too much time on any certain part of the painting. I spent quite a while blending out the sky. So I'm just going to put a little bit more blue in and we'll call it good. And sometimes you're going to see little places where the paint doesn't blend in all the way. You have a little white. That's perfect. If you're using like X-shaped strokes up and down like this, there's going to be some of those. And it's nice to have some of those because it's going to look like some clouds way off in the distance, just something going on in your sky. You don't want a perfectly blended sky, all one color, because you don't often see that. Things always get lighter as you go towards the horizon. From the top, it's going to be darker. It's going to get lighter going down. From the bottom, it's going to be darker. So when you're painting, like bushes and trees and things, they're going to be darker when they're near than if they're way back towards the horizon. Now, I know that this painting had some water, so what we're going to do, we're just going to take some paint and start on the outside edge and just make some lines coming in, vertical lines. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting the paint to spread because my liquid white has dried up a little bit. I could normally add some paint thinner to it, but I didn't have any clean thinner with me. So it's taking a little bit longer to blend these in, but that's okay. It's still gonna work. Liquid white is basically just white thinned down with thinner. That's all it is. And as we went over in the Northern Lights episode, you can also use other colors in place of liquid white if you have a different colored canvas. Like a black canvas, we put some colors underneath that were transparent. You couldn't see them on the black, but once you put white on them, they showed up very bright. And you know, as long as it's a wet paint, it's gonna help the paint on top of it move around just like the liquid white does. All right, we're gonna leave a little sheen across the middle here and then just blend over it, make it look like light reflecting off the water when we're done with our painting. And already it's starting to look like we've got water down here and clouds up in the sky. And I'm going to get a little bit more color here because, like I said, the paint's not spreading as well because the liquid white is dried out. That just goes to show how important liquid white is to this technique. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do, we always want to start with the things that are furthest in the background first. And in this painting we had some clouds. I believe there were some on this side behind the mountain and some on this side. And I'm doing this all from memory. It's not going to be a perfect copy. It wouldn't be if I had the painting right here in front of me because no painting ever turns out the same. All right, to make our clouds, we're going to take our fan brush and pull out some titanium white, just pure titanium white. And we're going to start just making little circles. We don't want to stay in one place too long. Just little circles. If your paint starts to get light, just pick up some more. And it may pick up some of the blue underneath, and that's fine. When we're making these clouds, we're mostly worried about this outside edge. Just keep moving in a circle, you know, just don't stay in one place too long. It'll look like you put a big cotton ball up in the sky if you do. Maybe one on the other side. And to make these clouds, just think how a cloud would go. You know, when you see clouds, they're very free. They're not perfect shapes. They go however they want to go. And so think about that while you're putting in these clouds. It'll help you out a lot. All right, now that we got this cloud in here, I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my 2-inch brush that I was using. I have several going here down by my palette, but I really like this one for blending clouds. It's a natural bristle brush and it does great for that sort of thing. To wash your brush, all you do is scrub it on the screen at the bottom of your can. This can has paint thinner in it. And you just beat it off. All the paint will fly off of it. The paint thinner causes it to not bind to the brush, and it'll come right off. Very easy. And what I'm doing here, after I wash it, sometimes I like to go back over it with a paper towel and get some of the extra color and stuff off of it, so I don't mix the blue all in with my white. But you know, if it's not white, you can even not wash your brush, and it'll still turn out okay. But with the white, I always want to make sure I clean it. All right, now I'm going to take this 2-inch brush and throw it at the canvas, and making a huge mess. I'm going to take this 2-inch brush, and I'm going to blend out these clouds. Just go around in circles, just bring them down. And I want to make sure not to mess up the outside edge. Just leave the outside edge, blend the rest in. Do the same for the other cloud. You know, a lot of times you'll see clouds that have multiple layers in them. So maybe I'll come back and make another little cloud right in front of this one. Maybe there's another cloud on the other side. Just wherever you want it to be. Whatever's in your mind, you can put it on this canvas. And if it doesn't work right for you, well, just change it. Take the brush again, just the corner of the brush. Blend this out. You know, the more you blend it, the more it's going to mix with the color underneath. And if you rub these too much, they'll almost disappear. And that's a good thing sometimes if you decide you don't like the cloud you created. All right, now that we've got our clean, dry brush, we're going to come up to the canvas and just kind of gently lift up on the clouds. Just gently, barely using any of the hairs, just a few. And you're going to get some little wispy things coming up above the clouds, and that's okay. We're going to take care of that in a second. This is what's called hypnotizing the cloud. At least that's what Bob Ross used to always say. And as you all know, I love watching Bob Ross. And after you do that, you're just going to gently, just a couple of hairs again, come across and blend it into the sky. Just a little. You don't want to overdo this, or your clouds are going to get too light. And if you didn't like the clouds, this is a good time to just rub hard across them and blend them back into the sky. All right. So now that we got the clouds done, actually I want to blend that a little bit more at the bottom here. You want this bottom to almost just fade away, so it doesn't look like brush marks. It just looks like the cloud just kind of disappeared. I'm going to step back and take a look at these. When you're up close to your painting, it's very hard to see what you've got. So every now and then while you're painting, it helps to step back and just take a look at what you've got. All right, the next thing we're going to do is make that huge mountain that was right in the middle. The mountain took up most of the canvas. When I first made that painting, I thought it was too much, but as I started to work on it, I loved it, and that was my favorite part of it. So we're going to mix a little bit of Van Dyke brown, just a small amount of Prussian blue, a bit of alizarin crimson, and we're going to mix all that together, make a very dark color on our palette. Almost looks black, maybe a little bit more blue in there. You know, things far off in the distance kind of look blue sometimes, or purple. You know, there's that song talking about the purple mountain majesties, and I was like, what does that mean? And then I started painting, and I thought about it. I was like, hey, now I know what that means. All right, and you're going to have a bunch of excess paint on your palette knife, so And just wipe it off with a paper towel. All right, now we're going to take a little bit of this paint that we just made, make a little roll of it on your palette knife. Might have got a little too much. Maybe I'll get it out flatter. There we go. And you'll just think, where do you want your mountain? I think I want my mountain right here because that's close to where we had it in the other one. And with this, you're just putting in the color. We're not too worried about what's going on in the middle. We just want a solid outside edge. So we're just pulling down, just pulling down. Just that fast. You don't even have to worry about it. Just pull it. Get some color on the canvas. That's what's important right now. I think in this painting we had a little bump right here because at the time I was thinking about Mount Hood because I see it off in the distance pretty often when I'm on my way to work. You know, I miss where I'm from. I'm from back around Georgia and Alabama, but they didn't have mountains like that there, and this is one of my favorite parts of living in Oregon. All right, now that we got some color on the canvas, I'm gonna lay that palette knife to the side. I'm not gonna clean it yet because I'm not done with it. But now that we got some color on the canvas, we're just gonna start pulling down. Just leave the outside edge alone. Don't mess with that. Actually, before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and scrape off some of this excess color. We got too much here in the middle, because we want to make sure that once we spread out the paint, we have color on the canvas, but we want it to be very thin. Well, actually very thick. It's a very thin layer of paint, and that causes the paint to be thick because we want to put paint on top of it. And you just kind of take it halfway and go out and just pull it down. Just be careful not to destroy that edge. As I've said before, that's very important. And already, as you're pulling the mountain out, it's creating kind of highlights, and it's going to help you to lay out your mountain. And that easy, we created a mountain. About 30 seconds worth of work if I wasn't sitting here talking about it. All right, now I'm going to clean off one of my palette knives. I have two here. You'll probably only need one. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of them. It's just I happen to have one sitting around, so it lets me not clean it as much. All right, the next thing I want to do is highlight this mountain. And for that, I'm going to use some titanium white, just flat white, maybe just a touch of red added to it for some reflected light, some of the bright red. Not much, just a little bit. And when we mix it up, we're going to leave it a little bit marbled, so some of that red shows up in there. Wipe my knife off again. And just take a little cut of that paint, just a little roll of it. And we're going to start right here at the top. And when you do your highlighting, you want to lay your knife right up against the edge. If you're left-handed, it's usually going to be easier to put the highlights on your left side. If you're right-handed, probably right. But just whatever makes you feel comfortable. And it's nice to change it up. If you usually do this right-handed, maybe try it left. It's a different experience. All right, so here we go. We're going to put it here, and we're just going to very lightly start coming down the mountain. And I'm not putting any pressure on this. I'm just letting the canvas take what it wants to. Get a little bit more. And I'm always starting vertical and just pulling out. Maybe I'll leave some dark spaces in there. And as I said earlier, we are trying to recreate the painting that I've made, but it will not be an exact copy. And here's one of the reasons why. The canvas takes what it wants. I do not decide where this highlight goes. Of course, I can make sure I leave some dark areas so we have places to put our shadow highlight color. Any highlights you make need to have a shadow. See, I pressed down a little too hard there. Kind of looks like I iced a cake in this little section, so come back over it again. No pressure. Just let the canvas take what it wants. Maybe we got another little peak that sits just out here. Just let that come down. A little more paint. Let that come down. Maybe we've got one that starts here. Just a very jagged mountain today. All right. And see a little bit more right there. There we go. Just blend this in how we want it. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of the white again, go off to the side, and this time we're going to mix a very small amount of blue with it. And maybe a little bit of brown. Make a grayish highlight color. You just want to make sure this is darker than the color you had before. And again, on this color, we don't want to mix it very much, just leave it so it's marbled. And we'll come back and just put in highlights, go in the opposite direction of the ones we've already put in. And you can also leave some of the dark areas of the mountain underneath. You don't have to fill every little shadow in with highlights. I mean, it's nice to have some, but you're going to have some very dark areas where the sun doesn't shine at all. Very long shadow here. You know, the sun's coming from this direction. Maybe that side of the mountain isn't getting much sun. Just lay your knife out very flat. And again, I'm not putting much pressure here. I'm just coming down. All right, now I believe in the painting we made. First, let's finish up this mountain before moving on. What you want to do is go ahead and, I'm holding the back here so I don't knock this over. I got it taped down, but I still don't feel safe just tapping on it real hard. You want to just tap the bottom of the mountain. What we're doing here is just diffusing this area so it kind of looks like a mist. When we get done with that, we can just come across and just blend it in. So we got a little place here where I got outside the mountain a little bit, and we'll fix that later. Mistakes that are in the background, they can be covered up with a lot of things, like trees and bushes. I've had some terrible things on paintings that nobody ever knew about because I painted over them with the tree. The trees cover up all my mistakes. In this painting, we had a couple little peaks down lower, so I'm going to make another one right here. Just decide where it's at, put it in, just the same as we did the big one. Still got some of the white on there from the other one. That's all right. Most of this is going to get scraped off just the same as we did the other one. We just want to leave that outside edge. All right, now we're going to pull this color down, leaving that outside edge just like it is. We don't want to mess that up. We worked hard to create it. Maybe this mountain's got some snow on it too. Just a little bit, let it drag down. And we'll come back, get some of our highlight color. Same as the other one, just opposite direction, drag down. decide where your shadows are at. Put highlights there. And again, we'll come along and diffuse the bottom of it, create mist. Get some color off the brush and just blend it. And once again, I've got some little areas here where I've let the paint come out and just blend them in, and it'll be fine. In fact, I think that's enough mountains for now. And next I'm going to come in and get some of that same dark mountain color that I was using. And I'm just going to come along here and just make a little line of trees. And it's not very important where they're at right now. We'll just make them how we want. Maybe we got a little foothill coming along here. And now that we got these trees in here, we're just going to take a little 1-inch brush, or a 2-inch brush will work too. In fact, a 2-inch brush would probably do this faster. We're just going to lift up on them just a little bit. Make it look like little trees off in the distance. Just thousands of them all along the base of this mountain. Too far out to make out any detail, just maybe back here we got another little hill that comes up. Just really light. Create a little mist in there. You can barely see these, they're so far off in the distance. And again, most of those will be covered up with trees, so we're not that worried about them. And now we're gonna go into our brown, mix it in with our mountain color. We just want something a little bit darker. And maybe we'll tap the base of these really far away trees, just diffuse it. And we'll get another little layer here that's a little bit darker in front of them. Yeah, get some more color on the brush, getting a little thin here. Most of it's not very important. It will be covered up. And maybe along here I want to make some land for this to sit on. Just put some brown in here, pull it off to the side. Most of that will be covered up. Just decide kind of how you want the bank of your lake to look. We're not too worried about most of the stuff on the edges because it's going to be covered up by the trees in the front. Because if you'll remember on the painting at the beginning of the show, we got two little peninsulas or islands that come out with trees on them. So the next thing I'm going to do is just take a clean brush. I'm going to pull some of this color down into the water. Probably should have done that before I put the bank on, but well, that's okay. This will work too. And we're just going to come back and lightly go across that to make a reflection. And we're not done with our reflections here. We still got a lot of work to do. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some of these trees in the background. You're not going to see a lot of color back here because they're pretty far away from you, so you just want some little indications of some different colors off in the distance, different bushes and trees, things like that going on. If you're having trouble getting your paint to stick, just add a little paint thinner. We're doing okay right now, but that's a common problem that people have while doing this technique. One of the most important things to remember is that a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. And we want to mix up this color a little bit. Maybe we'll get a little yellow ochre in here. It's another type of yellow. It looks more orange. Maybe a little alizarin crimson, make a bright little red tree in here. It's kind of a fall scene. And as you can see, I'm not washing my brush. I'm just kind of coming along, and these trees that we have here, let's reflect some of them into the water. Go ahead and get some of that yellow color back. Reflect that into the water, maybe. And these are far away, so you're not going to see that much. We're not making perfect reflections here. We're just making an indication of some. Ooh. What a mess. All right, now we're going to get a little bit more of the yellow, just pure yellow, and reflect some of those bushes into the water. Turned out brighter than I wanted it right there, but we're going to blend that out, so no big deal. All right, now I'm going to clean off my 2-inch brush. Some people say that's their favorite part of this technique is cleaning the brushes. It's my least favorite part, but we've got to do it. All right, now we're just going to come by just a couple of hairs with the brush, pull these reflections down. We don't want to destroy them. We just want to make them look like reflections. And we'll come across just a couple of hairs. There we go. Makes them look like they're reflecting the water. I'm going to step back and take a look at what we got so far. It's been a while since I've done that, so it's very important too. All right, next I'm going to take some Van Dyke brown, apparently a little white, and some sap green. I'm going to just mix that all together really well. To mix something well, you should pick it up off the canvas and mix it several times. Flip it around, mix it some more. Most times you want to leave things marbled, but in this case I wanted just a solid color. Now I'm going to take my big fan brush, clean it off. And maybe back here in the background, got a few bigger evergreen trees that we can see. Maybe we'll just tap the canvas where we think one would be. We'll just come back and forth with the corner of the fan brush. Just lay some in there. Wherever you see evergreen trees, you usually see a whole group of them. I think they call that a stand of trees. So just create more of them, however many you want in your world. These are still pretty far away, so we don't have much detail. Maybe I got one right here. And as you tap this color and it mixes in with the sky, you start to see some of those other colors that were mixed in with it, like a little bit of the sap green. And that's why we mix several colors together instead of just using brown. It gives it a nice effect. And of course, if you ever don't have any brown, just mix together some red and green, and you have brown then. I was going back and watching some of the videos. You know, I don't often get to watch the show because I'm too busy doing other things, but I did go back and watch the one where I did the color tutorial, and we forgot to go over how to make the color brown. So that is how to do it, just red and green. You really can make any color with the 3 primary colors. It's just that sometimes it's not worth it, and it'd be much easier to just go buy that color. There's not this many trees in the original version of this painting, but I want them here. And I'm going to take my clean palette knife here. Well, it wasn't clean. It is now. And I'm just going to go back in here and just scratch in some trunks and things in these groups of trees. They don't have to be straight. Just little lines, indications that something's back there. And you don't have to do it in all of them. Come back over, cover up parts of them. Maybe I'll scratch a few little trunks into the bushes back here. And we'll come along with our fan brush and pick up a little bit of that yellow, red, green, you know, that all these colors we use to highlight. Maybe I'm gonna make some little grasses and things going along the bank here. A yellow ochre, more yellow. And as you can see, I'm having problems getting it to stick, so I'm just going to take a little drop of paint thinner and run it through that color, thin it out. And now we'll come back to the canvas, and now it sticks much better. If you're still having trouble, thin it out some more. That's the reason I've always said on the show to start with a very thick paint, because you can always thin it out more, but you can't make it thicker. So if you start with a thin paint, you're going to end up not being able to paint on top of it. You'll have to wait till it dries. And I've done that before. I used some very cheap colors, and they ended up looking good, but it was just a lot of hassle. All right. Now the next thing we're going to do is go back into some dark colors, some blue, brown, just any of the dark colors, and we're just going to start making like some land masses that come out. We're not too much worried about details right now because that's all going to be created with the highlights. So we're just going to get that dark color and just come across, just press down. That'll, or you can press up in some places. That'll make these little pieces of brush and grass and things stick up if you press up like that. And we also want to pull that color down. Maybe if you pressed up here, press down on this side, put some more color down for a reflection. but I need to put a little bit more color over here. That's too small to be a piece of land. Just push up, a little bit more paint, push up. Okay, this side, push down. Okay, I'm gonna clean off my brush. Make sure it's dry. All right, now I'm just gonna pull down gently to make some reflections. And then we'll just lightly come across. Just a couple of hairs. All right, now I'm going to come back with my brush I've been using to do highlights with. I'm going to highlight some of these. And basically we're doing just one bush at a time. It looks like I'm just coming in here and slapping in a bunch of colors, but you just want to do one bush and go down as you do it, because as you come down, it's going to get lighter. Well, it's going to get darker at the bottom, which is what you want. You can get several colors on the brush. You don't even have to wash it. Maybe I'll put a red one in here. I like those red ones in these fall scenes. We got another bush back here in the background. All right, now that we got that done, I wanted to get this first because I'm going to put some trees in here, but I wanted something for those trees to sit on. So now we're going to take some sap green, some Van Dyke brown, and we're just going to wiggle the brush down. If you could come down to my palette here. Oh, well. Anyway, we're going to wiggle the brush down until we get a chiseled edge. See, just like this, it's gonna look like a knife point here. Just you do that by running down and wiggling the brush, and just load it full of paint. And then we're gonna start, I guess, right here. We didn't have a tree there before, but we do now. And just with the corner of the brush, just the same way you did these other trees with the fan brush, just start coming down. And we're gonna get that a little bit darker. Probably could have thinned it out too. That would help it sit in there better. Maybe I'll get a little drop of paint thinner and mix it in now. But we don't want to get this too thin because we also have to come back and highlight these trees. And as you can see, I'm covering up some of those trees I worked so hard on, but that's okay. As long as we got some practice making trees, then we haven't wasted our time. All right, again, come back down, get a chiseled edge. And here, there's a tree here on the other side. I'll just start with the corner of the brush, going side to side. Now, a lot of people don't like to use these big 2-inch brushes while they're painting. But if you learn to use them, you can get a lot of work done really fast. All right, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to take some Vandyke brown, and we're just going to come in and make a trunk here in some of these trees. Just in various places. Most of this is going to be covered up by the highlight colors anyway. All right, now we're going to take the big fan brush and get a little bit of sap green, mix it with a little bit of the yellow, make a highlight color for our trees. We want it to be a little bit lighter than what we got there, but still very dark. And as we come down, just put some highlights here and there. You don't have to cover the whole tree. In fact, it's better if you leave some of the dark areas, because without the dark areas, you can't have light. And you want to go over different places. You don't want to leave a bunch of fan brush shaped highlights, unless that's what you like, and feel free. Maybe in a couple of places on this trunk, I'm going to come back. Just get some white, maybe put a highlight on the trunks. You want to put the highlight on the side the sun is shining from. All right, and we're just going to come in and cover some of those back up with the highlights, because we don't want them to look like just floating on top of the tree. We just want it to look like the trunk is showing through in a few places. Now that we got that done, we don't want these trees looking like they're just floating above the bushes, so we're going to come in and put some more bushes in. And while we're doing that, we can get some of these highlight colors started that we're going to pull down into our reflections. Maybe another bush right here. All right, now we're going to want something for these trees and bushes to sit on. I think maybe some land would work nice for that. So I'm just going to get some land and pull it along there with a knife. Maybe pull it out long and thin towards the end. And then we're gonna get a little bit of white, mix it with some brown, and that'll make a good highlight color for the land, which we forgot to do up here. You always want to put some highlight on it. And you don't want to go straight down. You never want to pull straight down. You always want to come at an angle, or it's just not going to look right. Look like you'll have a little cliff here or something. All right, and same thing on this side. Just not much pressure, really. Look at that. Had paint all in the brush, made a mess all over my hands. Well, you know, if you're painting, you're going to get paint on you. All right. Now we're going to brush out some of these little places where paint and things got into the painting. Just kind of blend them. Blend in with the reflections. Don't want to mess up our reflections we've already got, but we do want to clean this up a little bit. That way our painting will look nice when it's dry. Try to remove all the brush strokes. Okay, now where we got these reflections, we need to go ahead and gently pull them down. Just a couple of hairs, no pressure. Once again, do the same on this side. And then we're going to pull across. And I'm going to step back, take a look at this. And let's see, is there anything else we need to do? You know, I think there needs to be a little bit more dark color down here where the trees are reflecting. We don't want a lot, just a little bit. And once again, these places, we're going to come down very lightly and pull some of that into it. They don't have to be perfect. You want to make sure you're pulling straight down or they're going to look kind of strange to you. We'll just come across. Maybe go back and forth, make it look like it ripples a little bit. Let's see, maybe I'm going to blend that one in a little bit. Looks bright compared to the others. I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush again. And as you can see, I've gotten a little color into my water. So again, all we got to do is come across, blend it in, make it part of the painting. Gently blend all the way across. The harder you rub, the more it's going to just blend into the background. All right. And that's pretty close to what we had in that beginning. I think maybe I'll put a few more highlights and we're going to call this painting done. Maybe a bit up here, a little bit there. And then I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to just make a few lines here, the indication of maybe some trees and stuff back here inside all this. Maybe at the base of the bushes, scratch in some little sticks and twigs. When you scrape the paint off, the white canvas is going to show through. And that can look interesting sometimes. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, because it might look a little bit strange. You just have a painting that's all scratched up. If you got some places where the water shows through that you didn't want it to, maybe put a little there, maybe some sticks sticking up. Put a little more detail over here. And I come back and get a little bit of the highlight color and just put some grasses, things right along this bank so it doesn't look like it's just sitting on top, so it kind of brings it into the painting. You know, I'm going to try something different today that I don't normally do. I'm going to try to sign this painting. So what you want to do to sign the painting is get some red, or whatever color you choose really. Red's just nice because it really stands out. And you'll want to mix it with thinner until it's really thin, almost the consistency of ink. When you think it's too thin, add a little bit more. That's how much. So we just want this to glide across the top. Okay, now I'm going to take my liner brush and just get it, spin it around. And then right here in the bottom corner, I'm gonna put a signature. The color comes off quite fast, so you'll have to load it several times. See, there's an R and W. All right, well, I'm glad that you could join us today. It's been very fun. In a few minutes, I'm actually going to be filming another one, and so that'll be the next week's episode. We've had a very good response to our Northern Lights painting online and for people that I've talked to in the community that's seen it. So I think for our next painting, we're going to do another one with the Northern Lights with a little bit more detail. And I think we're going to use a bigger canvas than we normally use, so that should be interesting. And I hope you will join us. As always, you know, just think about trying this method yourself. This is the 29th painting I've done. And a lot of times people say, well, what, are you saying that to brag? Well, no, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because anyone can do this. So just try. It's fun. You know, your first painting might not turn out very good. I know mine didn't, but you know, you learn the technique and it becomes easier over time. Well, thanks for watching.